My son publicly mocked and abandoned my last name. Then I withdrew everything, ended his West Point dream, and walked away without a word at all. I do not want your last name anymore. It is pathetic. That sentence did not just come out of nowhere. It detonated in the middle of a backyard filled with cheap lawn chairs, overcooked burgers, and people pretending to care about each other for the sake of tradition. I was holding a plate of ribs when Connor said it. I had not even put the damn food down before he fired that shot. 18 years old, leaned back in his plastic chair like a discount James Dean, arms behind his head, sunglasses still on even though the sun had dipped below the tree lane. Everyone got quiet, forks froze, soda cans hissed softly in hands that suddenly were not sure whether to sip or slam them down. I did not look at him right away. I looked at the ribs, smelled the sauce, thought about the time I spent slow smoking them this morning while replaying memories of his first Little League game. He struck out 3 times, cried in the car. I told him, "You carry the Holbrook name. We do not quit." And now here he was, chuckling like he was dropping a dead brand. I am taking Mom's new last name. Bennett sounds cleaner, stronger, he added. The worst part was not the words. It was how casually he tossed them out like he was scraping gum off his shoe. And when I finally raised my eyes, my ex-wife Melissa was already glancing away. Her new husband, Jack Bennett, the man Connor apparently idolized now, let out a smug little laugh. The kind that makes your fist twitch instinctively. I did not punch him. I did not even let my grip tighten. That would have meant he mattered. Instead, I nodded. All right, that was it. Just one word. But inside something settled. Something ancient and silent and cold. Not rage. Rage burns fast and ugly. This was slower, like frost forming on glass you thought was safe. I will grab more ice, I said, and I walked inside. All right, fellows. Quick break. We are shooting for 10,000 subscribers. If you are enjoying these gripping tales of betrayal, hit that subscribe button and let us get back to the story. Behind me, the conversation picked up again nervously like a crowd after an unexpected gunshot. I heard Melissa mutter something about me being overly sensitive. Jack said, "Let the boy be his own man." Someone turned the music up. The smell of burnt meat lingered. I did not care. I opened the freezer, stared at the half-melted bag of ice, and let my hands rest on the counter. That countertop had seen years of glue projects, school lunches, late-night science fair disasters. Connor once carved his initials into the corner with a compass when he was 9 years old. I had filled it with wood putty and sanded it smooth, telling him Brooks leave things better than they found them. Apparently not. Upstairs, the guest room was untouched, clean bedspread, dustless shelves. I sat down on the edge of the bed and opened the drawer of the old oak nightstand. Inside was a worn black notebook. I had not looked at it in years. Military contacts, notes from my active duty days, phone numbers from people who never left things unfinished. I thumbed through the pages slowly while laughter filtered in from outside. Jack's laugh, hollow and empty. Connor's high-pitched and nervous, like he knew he had crossed a line but could not admit it. Melissa's fake, practiced trill. It had the same tone she used when she would say, "I am just tired, Daniel," right before she stayed out late visiting her sister. I found the page. Colonel Braxton, West Point liaison. We had not spoken in more than 10 years, but he still sent me a holiday card every year. I once pulled his son out of a collapsed building during an exercise gone wrong in Kandahar. Debt like that sticks in a military family. I did not make the call yet. I just stared at the number, memorized it again. Back outside, Connor strutted around with his chest puffed like a rooster in a thrift store polo. Jack handed him a beer. Melissa pretended not to see. I stepped back outside with the ice. "You okay, Dad?" someone asked. "Fine," I said, pouring cubes into the cooler. But I was not. I'd spent my entire life teaching that boy how to stand up straight, how to look someone in the eye, how to work with your hands when your words were not enough. And now he wanted to cut off the name that had gotten him through every scraped knee and broken heart. All right. He thought it was just a name. He had no idea what else had opened or closed. That night, after the barbecue finally died down, and the last of the lukewarm beers were tossed in the recycling bin, I sat in the dark of my study with nothing but the ceiling fan humming above and the soft click of my old desk lamp switching on. The house was dead quiet, eerily so. I had not turned the television on. I had not taken off my shoes. I did not even bother changing out of the polo, still carrying the faint scent of hickory smoke and betrayal. On the desk sat the black notebook, leather-worn, corners chewed from years of travel. That thing had followed me through deployments, divorce, and disaster. Inside, it held only 2 kinds of names, those I buried and those I owed. Colonel Braxton was one of the latter. We were not friends, not in the holiday dinner sense. We were something harder to define and far more permanent, bonded by blood, sweat, and silence. I saved his son's life in 2005. He swore he would repay me one day. I told him he did not have to, but the ledger was still there. I flipped to the page. His number had not changed. My hands hovered over the phone. I did not hesitate because I was unsure. I hesitated because I understood the finality of what I was about to do. This was not grounding a teenager. This was not withholding car keys or canceling a Netflix password. This was cutting the thread that held together the only dream he had clung to since he was 10 years old. West Point. He had spent 4 years in the Reserve Officer Development Corps, 2 summers at leadership academies, 100 hours on essays, interviews, and preparation. I wrote the initial recommendation letter myself, called in favors, built the scaffolding around his ambition with care and pride. I told him, "We carry this name with honor," and he used that same mouth to call it pathetic. I pressed dial Braxton. His voice had not changed, sharp as gravel. "It is Holbrook." A pause. "Then, I was wondering when I would hear from you. You have a kid named Connor Holbrook in the next admission cycle, candidate ID ending in 88. There was a pause on the line, sharp, not surprised. Yours was. Braxton exhaled through his nose. I could picture him in his den, cigar tray nearby, a glass of bourbon sweating on a coaster. He still wore the ring. Still said, "Sir," even when he did not have to. "You want me to kill it?" I leaned back in my chair. He is free to reapply, but he no longer carries my endorsement. And I would appreciate it if you let the right people know discreetly. No mess, just remove the support line. No reason needed. Understood. Click. That was it. No drama, no judgment, just a clean, clinical excision, like cutting out a rot before it spreads. I set the phone down and looked around the room, photos on the wall. My dad shaking my hand at my own commissioning. Connor in his Boy Scout uniform. Melissa in the background of a Thanksgiving photo, already leaning away from me. Even then, the signs were always there. I just did not want to read them. On my desk was a small brass compass Connor made for me at camp when he was 12 years old. The engraving on the lid said, "To help you find your way home." I stared at it for a while, then closed it gently like a coffin lid. Next morning, the email came through. Subject, candidate support withdrawn. Body, application no longer supported. Admission status under review. Candidate to be notified. No fanfare, no follow-up, just a polite, bureaucratic guillotine. I deleted the email, then opened a new browser tab and began quietly updating other documents, wills, trusts, beneficiary listings, all while Connor slept in his mother's house under a roof I used to pay for, dreaming of parades he would never march in. He had no idea. Not yet. But soon, he would wake up to a future that looked exactly like the one he wanted, just without me in it. There is a particular kind of arrogance that only exists in teenage boys, especially the kind raised on validation and screens. Connor had inherited his mother's pride and Jack's tact, which is to say he had neither humility nor discretion. That night, the same night I made the call to end his West Point future, he was in the den of Melissa's house, feet up on the coffee table I built, laughing over group text with boys who had never held a job longer than a summer. I did not have to guess what he said. I read it. Years ago, I installed device sync on Connor's phone. Parental guidance, I told him. He was 13 years old. It was for emergencies, location tracking, backup, safety nets. He never thought to remove it, and I never mentioned it again. The moment I saw my name drop in a group chat titled Dewa, I opened a fresh mug of black coffee, sat down at my desk, and read every pixel like it was a confession. Connor wrote, "Told my old man to shove it today." 3 skull emojis. Ryan wrote, "Laughing my ass off. Finally, that dude's so uptight." Connor replied. He looked like he wanted to cry. Face with tears of joy emoji. Tyler wrote skull skull. Connor wrote, "For real though, I am done carrying his loser name. I am a Bennett now. No more Holbrook bullshit rolling on the floor laughing emoji." Rolling on the floor laughing emoji. Melissa. Yes, she was in the next thread. Connor sent the same screenshot there. Her reply, a laughing emoji followed by, "Told you he would just sulk. That man cannot handle real men in the room." Then Jack chimed in, "Should have done it years ago. Kid, you are a Bennett. Start acting like it." No punctuation, no shame. I stared at the screen, not with anger. No. Anger is loud and brief. This was something else, something that runs cold and deep like oil beneath the surface of calm water. I clicked Save Conversation, exported the full thread, timestamped. I did not reply, did not interfere. I let them celebrate like hyenas dancing on a grave they thought was filled. They did not realize the grave was still empty. and the man they thought they had buried was sitting in the dark, archiving every word. Connor sent a photo of my old army plaque, boxed up and tossed in the garage, captioned, "History, not mine." One of his buddies responded, "Dude, you are savage, 100%. I enlarged that image. There was dust on the wood, a cobweb curling near the corner. I had not seen it since the move. I guess Melissa finally got around to deciding which of my memories were clutter. I took a screenshot, saved that too. It was not about revenge, not in the way they would understand. This was not a fit of rage. This was data collection, logging evidence, building the file that would eventually fold in on itself like a collapsing bridge. No one would hear the creak until the fall, and fall it would. They mistook silence for submission. They thought I walked away from the barbecue that day because I did not have a comeback. They had no idea I was already writing the end of their victory parade. One text at a time, one laugh at a time, all logged, all time-stamped. Because Connor thought he was making a bold declaration, but what he actually sent me was a signed confession. I started with the living trust. It was a quiet Thursday morning, the kind where most people sip coffee and scroll the news, but I had my fingers on a keyboard, my mind sharper than it had been in years. No distractions, no noise, just methodical reallocation of legacy. Precision, not pettiness. I was not cutting him out of rage. I was removing him like a surgeon excising rot. My attorney, Janice, picked up on the second ring. "Daniel, everything okay? Just need some updates," I said. My voice was calm, professional, the voice of a man who had already buried the emotion and was now focused on paperwork. I sent over the revised beneficiary designations first. Connor Holbrook stricken from the trust, the life insurance, the pension rollover. The trust's primary now read, Designated Beneficiaries, Veterans Children Education Fund, 60%, Operation Valor Grant Program, 25%, St. Paul's Orphan Support Network, 15%. The language was airtight. Janice made sure of it. No future contests, no emotional appeals, no loopholes. Every clause contained language that made the terms irrevocable under all foreseeable challenges. I had seen men get clever when the money vanished. I was making sure Connor could not even find the door. From there, I tackled the 529 college fund. It was originally built the year he turned 6 years old, $150 a month, every month. It was supposed to be a nest egg for his future. He never even knew how much was in there, did not care, just assumed it was covered, because I always had it covered. I transferred the full amount to a scholarship foundation for Gold Star families, called the director myself, told them it was a quiet donation, no credit needed. They insisted on naming a grant after me. I declined. Let it go nameless. The only person who would feel its absence would be the one who thought he was entitled to it. Then I logged into the insurance portal. Connor had been listed as a dependent since birth. Health, dental, even that optional accident protection, gone in less than 5 minutes. The system prompted me with a gentle pop-up. "Are you sure you wish to remove your child as a dependent?" I clicked yes without blinking. It was not a declaration of war. It was a declaration of absence. I left nothing open-ended. I rewrote the medical power of attorney, emergency contact lists, all digital estate entries. Hell, I even updated my funeral directives. No mention of Connor. The man at the funeral home looked at me over his glasses when I specified, "Do not notify next of kin unless expressly listed. Use written list only." "Arranged," I said. Erased. The last task was symbolic. I opened my fireproof safe and pulled out a wooden cigar box. Inside were mementos, Connor's baby bracelet, his first honor roll pin, a photo of him in fatigues at the West Point prep camp. I took the box to the fireplace, lit a match. I did not burn the photo, just the pin, the bracelet, the fragments of a boy who no longer existed. The photo I kept. I slipped it into a manila envelope along with printouts of his texts, screenshots, and the now voided West Point letter. Then I sealed the envelope and wrote his name on it in block letters, not out of sentiment but out of documentation. Legacy is not just about inheritance, it is about intention. And I had just rewritten mine, with absolute clarity, with finality, and without a single raised voice. It was exactly 8 days after that barbecue when the crack finally formed, not in my plan, but in his illusion. Connor had been riding the high of his name-drop stunt like a prize stallion, posting gym selfies captioned, Bennett bloodline flexed biceps, strutting around in a knockoff cadet hoodie from some military surplus store he probably thought made him look official. Melissa was soaking it up, of course, her golden boy finally free of the big bad shadow of his father. Jack Bennett even gave him a hand-me-down Omega watch and called it a symbol of manhood. But the universe, bless its timing, sent the first fracture through Connor's perfect little mirror at 2:41 post-meridian on a Thursday. The subject read, "Application update from Office of Admissions, United States Military Academy." The body stated, "Dear candidate, this is to confirm receipt of your recent withdrawal of support from your designated recommender. As a result, your application status has changed to withdrawn. No further action is required. Should you wish to reapply, a new recommendation and evaluation cycle will be necessary. Respectfully, United States Military Academy Admissions." That is all it took. 10 years of dreams gone in 4 sentences and a system flag. Melissa was at work when he saw it. He texted her 3 times. "Connor, what the fuck is this West Point email? Connor, did you or Jack say something? Connor, call me now." No answer. He tried to call me next. 3 rings. Voicemail. "Hey, it is Daniel. Leave a message." He did not. Of course he did not. Kids like Connor do not leave messages. They expect instant callbacks, like life is a customer service line. But I was no longer customer support for his ego. He texted instead. "Connor, I got a weird message from West Point." "Connor, it says I withdrew my application. I did not." "Connor, this has to be a mistake. Call me." I watched them come in one after another. Notifications popping up like popcorn, urgent and uncomposed. I did not open a single one. I just let them sit there, unread, unanswered. Melissa tried next. Her tone was not panicked. It was accusatory. "Melissa, Daniel. What the hell is going on with West Point? Connor just got something about withdrawal. Was that you?" She should have ended the sentence after hell. Everything after that just made her sound desperate. I did not reply to her either. Instead, I turned off message previews and opened a fresh journal entry, dated it, logged the time of the email, saved a PDF copy, backed it up on an encrypted flash drive. That is what men like me do. We do not scream, we document. Meanwhile, Connor was unraveling. He logged into his application portal. Status, withdrawn. No appeal, no path forward. Every contact form redirected him to a generic admissions inbox. The recommender section, once listing my name, now showed support withdrawn. Application void pending new nomination. He tried to call West Point directly. Left a voicemail. Sent 3 emails. No reply. He even tried to message Colonel Braxton on LinkedIn. That one got blocked. He spiraled. The group chat Dewa went silent after he posted a screenshot of the email. "Connor, I think my dad tanked my application. I do not even know how." Tyler responded. "Wait, for real," Ryan said. "Damn." No emojis this time, no skulls, just silence. Later that night, Melissa stormed into my voicemail again. "Daniel, if you are behind this, you had better pick up the phone right now. This is his future. You cannot just sabotage your own son." "Sabotage? No, sweetheart. Sabotage is what happens when someone destroys a thing they never built. What I did was quietly take back what I did build because the boy who spit on the foundation did not deserve to stand on it. Connor had one in my name. Gone. So I started by taking it off the door, and then I locked it behind me." He pulled into the driveway too fast. The tires on his mom's leased sport utility vehicle kicked up a cloud of dust that lingered in the mid-morning heat like a ghost of urgency. Connor did not even turn off the engine at first. Just stared at the house, expecting something to feel normal. The blue shutters, the chipped mailbox, the gnome statue in the garden that Melissa always hated, but I refused to remove. It was all there, and yet none of it was. The for sale sign stood in the yard like a tombstone. Under contract, the red sticker screamed across the top. The grass around it had been trimmed recently, but Connor did not notice. He jumped out of the car, left the door ajar with the keys still inside, and bolted up the porch steps like he was chasing down a retreating dream. He knocked, waited, knocked harder. Nothing. The curtains were gone, no lights on, no sounds, just the faint creak of the porch swing swaying in the breeze. He reached for the doorknob, tried it, locked. He pressed his face to the window, cupped his hands around his eyes like a child trying to peer into a forbidden room. All he saw was emptiness, bare walls, polished floors, a house already stripped of the past. The photo frames were gone. The army shadow box gone. Even the faded recliner I used to nap in, gone. There was nothing left of me there, not even the smell. That is when Mrs. Gentry shuffled out from across the street, holding a watering can and a cigarette like she had seen this scene before and was not surprised. "You looking for Mr. Holbrook?" Connor turned, desperate. "Yeah. Is he here?" She gave him a long once-over, unimpressed. "He moved out a couple weeks ago, I think. Said he was heading to the coast." "The coast?" She nodded. Did not say much, just that he was done with place. Sold it fast too, cash buyer, quiet man but efficient. Connor blinked. Did he leave a number? She puffed smoke in his general direction. Not with me. He opened his mouth again like he might ask for more, but she was already heading back toward her begonias. He turned back to the door, knocked again, slower this time, like maybe the house would change its mind. It did not. Instead, it just stared back at him with hollow windows, unblinking and indifferent. He sank down on the porch step, the same step where we used to sit on Halloween nights handing out candy, where I once taught him how to tie a tie before his freshman dance, where he told me at 13 years old that he was going to West Point, just like I had. And now he sat there like a trespasser. He pulled out his phone, tried calling again, straight to voicemail again. He opened his text thread. Dozens of unread messages from his side. Dad, please call me. Seriously, we need to talk. West Point is saying stuff that does not make sense. Are you ignoring me? Why did you move? He scrolled, then stopped on an older one, the one he had sent right after the barbecue. I am done with the Holbrook name. He stared at it. The screen dimmed, locked, the porch creaked beneath him, and for the first time in days, Connor felt something new settle into his chest. Not anger, not bravado, but the sharp, quiet ache of absence. The house had not betrayed him. I had simply taken my legacy and left before it could be stolen. The party was everything Melissa wanted and nothing Connor needed. White tents in the backyard, a rented photo booth with prompts that screamed class clown with a scholarship, buffet trays of catered wings and sliders, custom cupcakes with frosting that read Bennett bound in gold cursive. Jack handed out cigars like he was some sort of patriarch. It was a performance, a loud, overpriced denial of reality. Because behind all the balloons and banners, one glaring truth still clung to Connor like invisible smoke. He had not heard back from West Point, not since the cryptic withdrawal confirmed email 2 weeks ago. Every follow-up message had gone unanswered. Every call to their admissions line met with soft-voiced apologies and redirects to general policy links. Still, he smiled, took pictures, laughed too loudly, posed with the same group of friends who once celebrated his rejection of me like it was a spiritual awakening. Until the envelope arrived, no return address, no postage mark, just a plain manila envelope slipped into the stack of cards on the gift table, between one from Uncle Jared and a novelty check labeled for your dorm pizza fund. Connor did not notice it at first. It was Melissa who handed it to him. Here is one more, she said absently, sipping champagne, no name on it, probably one of your buddies being dramatic. He tore it open in front of the crowd. The first thing that slid out was a photo, familiar, printed on thick stock, his West Point acceptance letter, the original one. He had posted it months ago on Instagram, the same one that once got 1,400 likes and 3 direct messages from girls he never had a chance with. Only now it had a red diagonal stamp across it, void. The room shifted. Laughter dimmed. Conversation paused the way it does when people smell something burning and are not sure whether to run or pretend it is fine. The second item slipped free, a 3-page printout. A timeline. June 4th, told my old man to shove it today. 3 skull emojis. June 4th, screenshot of barbecue group chat with pathetic name insult. June 5th, I am a Bennett now. Holbrook who? June 6th, photo of Daniel's military plaque boxed up with caption, history not mine. June 8th, I do not give a fuck if he cries. Man needed to hear it. Face with tears of joy emoji, all with timestamps, all with screenshots. The third and final item, a single page handwritten in blue ink, neat, measured, like a final entry in a soldier's field journal. Connor, you said you did not want my name, that it was pathetic, that you were done with everything I represented. I heard you and I respected your choice, so I gave you what you asked for. A future without me in it. No endorsements, no money, no protection, no name. You earned your place at West Point, but you destroyed your standing with the one man who made the call that got you there. The man whose name opened the door you just slammed shut. Enjoy your new path. This is what a name really meant, Deech. Connor did not move for a moment. Then he crumpled the letter, too late. Half the room had already seen it. Melissa's mouth hung open, frozen mid-sip. Jack leaned in, snatched the paper from Connor's hand, read 2 lines, and handed it back without a word. Connor's friends suddenly found their phones fascinating. One of them, Ryan, whispered to another, "Yo, is this for real?" A few people started quietly collecting their gift bags. "Melissa, is this a joke?" But her voice cracked. Connor said nothing. His face had gone pale. The fake tan from the photo booth lights made it worse. Then his grandfather, my father's brother, Uncle Paul, stepped forward, read the letter over his shoulder and shook his head. We told you, boy. We warned you not to spit on your father's name. He did not raise his voice. He did not make a scene. He just turned and walked out of the party, slow and deliberate. 2 of my cousins followed him. Then 3 more relatives. A family fracture in motion. Melissa stood frozen in the yard, surrounded by empty champagne glasses and wilting decorations. Connor sat down in a folding chair, the envelope on his lap. A future once gift, wrapped in legacy, now just paper, silence, and a name he could not take back. Connor did not notice the shift at first. He was still staring at the envelope in his lap like it might morph into something else if he just looked long enough. His fingers traced the crease of the handwritten letter, the one he crumpled, then uncrumpled, now unsure whether to destroy it or frame it like some cursed artifact. But the crowd around him was already thinning. His grandfather had left first, quietly. No dramatic exit, just a glance, a muttered damn shame, and a slow walk to the car with a cane in one hand and silence in the other. His father's siblings followed. People who had held Connor as a baby sent him birthday cards, slipped him $20 bills at Christmas. Not one of them looked back, and still he sat. The cupcakes were melting. The photo booth operator was checking his watch. The disc jockey hired to spin top 40 over Connor's grand moment dialed the music down to soft background noise, the universal signal that the party was dying. Melissa noticed next. She was pacing the patio now, barefoot, drink slushing in her glass. Her face red, not from wine, but from fury she could not place. She barked at the caterers, told the disc jockey to turn the volume back up, tried to rally the moment as if streamers and sliders could drown out the echo of a legacy drowning in its air. Then she turned on Connor. What was that, Connor? Did you know he was going to do this? Her voice snapped across the backyard like a whip. You had to have known. This is your fault. Connor's head jerked up. My fault? You think this just came out of nowhere? She hissed, crouching beside him now, teeth clenched behind her rehearsed smile. Do you have any idea what this looks like? What your grandfather just said? Connor stood up too fast, knocking over the chair. He made me look like the villain. Melissa's eyes flared. You made yourself look like the villain. Do you know how many people saw those texts, those posts? You did not forge them, Connor. You put your idiocy online and expected applause. The crowd, such as it remained, heard every word. Jack, the great savior, the stepfather of the year, stood uselessly by the cooler with a beer and a half-lit cigar. He did not step in, did not defend, just watched like a man realizing the tides were shifting and his yacht was not as buoyant as he thought. Connor turned in a slow circle, scanning the faces. Not one smiled. A cousin whispered to her mother, who shook her head with tight lips. Someone muttered, he did this to himself. Another, Daniel always gave him everything. And then the one that stung the most, he warned them. He warned them. Connor shouted, then you all think this is fair? You think I deserve this? He ruined my future. He killed my West Point slot. He abandoned me. No response. Just the soft clink of silverware and the sound of distance being measured in footsteps. Melissa spun toward Jack. Now say something. Jack took a breath, but what came out was not support. It was a mistake letting him post that trash. Should have made him delete it. And with that, the final straw cracked. Connor's eyes went wide. You were the one who said I should be my own man. You said Dad was weak. Jack did not even look at him. And you believed it. That is on you. Connor felt it then. Not just the embarrassment, not just the anger, but the full sinking awareness that no one was standing with him. The name he discarded did not just belong to Daniel. It belonged to the people leaving this party, the ones who knew what that name meant, the ones who now saw him as the boy who spat on his father and got handed a mirror in return. Connor staggered back to the table, palms on the edge like he needed it to keep upright. The photo of his voided West Point letter stared up at him like a gravestone. The guests around him, ghosts now. He was at his own celebration, and yet, the only one being celebrated was the man who was not there. It happened by accident. Or maybe it did not. 3 weeks had passed since the implosion at the party, since the letter, since the room emptied around him and left only a boy clinging to the ruins of a name he thought he could outgrow. Connor had been trying to track me down ever since, calling from burner phones, messaging from fake accounts, even driving to addresses that came up in background checks. He tried my old vet clinic in Shreveport, tried the post office I used to pick up my checks from. Nothing. Then one Tuesday afternoon I stepped out of a quiet library on the edge of a coastal town. One of those glass and brick buildings people forget exists until they need free Wi-Fi or a tax form. I had just returned The Art of War, the irony of which would hit me later when I heard the brakes squeal behind me. He had not changed much, but desperation had hollowed him. Hair unkempt, eyes bagged, cheeks sunken like sleep, had not visited him in a while. He slammed the door shut and jogged across the parking lot. "Dad." I stopped, not because of the word, but because it was the first time in weeks he had used it without irony, sarcasm, or shame. He caught up to me, breathless. "Dad, please just wait." I turned. He looked like a boy again, not the posturing man-child from the barbecue, not the smirking fool from the group chat. Just a boy who had seen the edge and realized the bridge was gone. "I did not mean it," he said. His voice cracked halfway through. "That stuff I said about your name, the texts, the party, I was just angry. I did not think it would go that far. I did not say anything at first. I just looked at him, studied the way his hands trembled slightly at his sides, the way his eyes kept flicking away like the truth might blind him if he held contact too long. He kept talking. I did not know West Point would drop me. I have tried everything, Dad. I sent letters, made calls. They will not even look at me without a new recommendation, and I need you. Just a letter. Just a call, please." Still, I did not answer. Not yet. I just let the silence stretch, long and surgical. He filled it clumsily. "I was wrong. Okay. I thought Jack was the future, that you were just stuck in the past. But I get it now. I do. You did not just carry the name. You built it. I thought I could just throw that away, and I did not know what it cost." That is when I sighed, not because I was tired, but because I had been here before. With him, with Melissa, with the slow rot of gratitude turning into entitlement. But this time, this was the final page. "You meant every word," I said softly. "And words have weight." He shook his head. "I did not. You did. And that is fine. You are allowed to choose your own path. But do not come crawling back to the bridge you lit on fire, asking me to rebuild it." He looked like I had hit him. "Just help me fix West Point. I will do the rest. Just get me in the door again." I finally met his eyes. "I did not break it," I said. "You did." He opened his mouth, closed it. His eyes welled, but no tears fell. Just a deep, slow realization that the man standing in front of him was no longer a safety net, no longer a backup plan, no longer reachable. I turned, walked past the pines toward the rental car. Sunlight cut through the branches in sharp golden blades. He did not follow, did not shout, did not beg. He just stood there, surrounded by the echoes of choices he thought were jokes, and watched his last lifeline walk away. Not with anger, not with malice, just finality and silence. The reunion was held in a rented lodge overlooking the lake, the same one we used to gather at every other summer when Connor was still the wide-eyed kid who thought his grandfather's war stories were cooler than Marvel movies. This year he showed up alone. No Melissa, no Jack, just Connor driving 3 hours in a rusted sedan that was not his but borrowed. His sport utility vehicle long since reclaimed when Melissa stopped covering his gas and Jack stopped answering his calls. He wore a collared shirt, sleeves rolled up, tried to smile at the check-in table like nothing had happened. But they knew. Everyone there knew. You do not silence a name like mine and expect it not to echo. Inside the hall, cousins buzzed around with toddlers, aunts arranged pies, and Uncle Paul, stoic as ever, stood by the display near the fireplace. A tribute wall to family service members. My photo was there in uniform next to my father's. A small plaque rested below it in honor of those who still carry the Holbrook name with pride. Connor froze when he saw it. His name was not anywhere on that wall. A few feet away, the master of ceremonies tapped the mic. "Before we continue with lunch, we have one special announcement. This year's reunion was made possible by a generous donation from Daniel Holbrook, who could not be here today but wanted to send his regards to the legacy that still lives and breathes among us." Polite applause rippled through the room. Connor did not clap. His jaw tightened. Eyes scanned the tables until he found the one near the front. Table 1, reserved every year for the eldest members and direct patriarchs. It had 8 chairs. 7 were filled. 1 was empty. Everyone knew whose it was supposed to be, his. Next to the chair was a folded place card. He stepped closer, heart thudding, picked it up, read it. It did not have his name. It was not blank. It said, "Reserved for the name that remains." Connor's hand dropped to his side. The place card fluttered back to the table like a white flag. He stood there alone in a room full of family he used to call his. Now they just nodded, offered forced smiles, and turned back to their conversations. The whispers returned like old ghosts. "Did you see the donation note? God, Daniel is still sharp as ever. Connor, he really burned that bridge, huh? Name means something. Always has." A cousin's kid passed him holding a Holbrook family t-shirt. The back printed with the names of all family members who contributed to the event. Connor scanned the list. Daniel's name was there. Mine. Connor's was not. Not as a donor, not as a Holbrook. He stepped outside, the spring breeze hitting him like truth. He sat on the bench by the lake, the same one he and I used to fish off, the same one where I had once told him, legacy is not something you inherit, it is something you honor. Now he had inherited nothing. No name, no place at the table. No chair to sit in, no echo to follow. Just the sound of kids laughing behind him, stories being told, lives continuing around a name that had already let go of him. Daniel Holbrook was not in the building, but his presence filled it. His donation built it. His silence sealed it. And in that moment, with nothing in his hands and no name to carry, Connor realized he had not just lost a father. He had erased his place in the very bloodline that once carried him. The legacy had not ended. It had moved on without him.